What's the most absurd reason you've heard of someone canceling their marriage? My Italian uncle canceled his wedding because the bride's family, not Italian, would not serve lasagna at the wedding reception. He ended up marrying an Irish woman whose family was okay with serving lasagna at the reception. One of my friends was engaged and is Catholic. Her husband had to convert and he had a dream where he was in a Catholic church, but not getting married, he was a priest. So he had a vision of becoming a priest and now the wedding is off. I was going to be a guest at a wedding and found out it was cancelled 2 weeks before the date. The bride found out that the groom had gotten a significant discount on the price of the venue and she was insanely angry that anything at her wedding cost less than premium. Keep in mind, this was her dream venue that she had chosen. She was just mad that her fiancé was cheap. Or something. I was never super close to either of them, but the last I heard they never ended up getting married. They realized after everything was already planned, invites sent out, etc., that they didn't like the date. They moved it to 2025 so there wouldn't be a 4 in their wedding date. My friend's former fiancé was a nice dude. Firefighter, easy to talk to, treated her well and got her a nice ring. Every now and then the ring would go missing, but he would eventually find it, safe and sound. She had a good job, too, and was giving him thousands of dollars a month to fix up a house they had bought to live in after they'd gotten married. Turns out, dude was living 2 lives or attempting to at the very least. He's married for 10 plus years and had 2 kids. The engagement ring was his wife's and he stole it back every now and then to find it for her. There was never a house, he never bought one, and used all the thousands he had been given solely on cocaine. Needless to say, they cancelled the wedding. They did nothing. They picked a date, sent mails with it to invite people. And then did nothing until a week before said date. Of course they could not rent the venue they wanted nor find another one. They couldn't find caterer, dresses, etc. on time. But also, legally, they couldn't get married in such short notice. So, they cancelled the wedding, and will get married later. It's been 5 years. They're still not married. One of my Marines has one that takes the cake. His marriage was cancelled because his spouse's parents had a dream that he would become abusive and an addict. She left him because of her parents' dream. He's now a multi-millionaire. That's an abusive addict. The best man said in his speech that he slept with the bride about 2 weeks before the wedding. All hell broke loose. The groom demanded that the marriage be cancelled. It took a few days to get the truth out and for the groom to finally listen. The best man thought it'd be a great prank. The groom was apologetic to the bride, but she didn't forgive him. Because he believed in others' lies and won't let her talk. My brother called it off on the morning of the wedding. She was incredibly controlling, faked a pregnancy, and didn't want to meet any of his family even though she lived a mile away. Her mother got her to cancel the reception hall a week before because she wanted it at her house. Loads of people dropped out, and my brother felt the pressure. I thank the universe that he called it off. I doubt I would have seen him again. Wish he didn't do it on the day though. One of my former friends called off her wedding because she was convinced the guy was either cheating or would cheat in the future. He wasn't cheating on her and hasn't cheated on the woman he ended up marrying years later. The former friend found a new man, got married, had kids. The man has cheated on her from the very start of their relationship, but she refuses to hear about it. My uncle and ex-aunt called off the wedding because God told them to wait a month before the wedding. They lived across the country, so my parents had to fly with 3 children under 10 years old and the tickets were non-refundable. My uncle called my dad with the new date, about 6 months after the original date. New York mom called him later and when he asked if we would be coming to the wedding she said that she spoke to God and he told her to bring her kids to Disney instead. My parents still joke about it today, and my uncle divorced that wife a year or two later. Happy ending though, he married his best friend about a decade later and they are truly perfect for each other. She really is a wonderful woman and we couldn't be happier for them. A friend of mine dated a guy for 8 years, they were young, it started in high school. Had the wedding all planned and mostly paid for. A month before the wedding, she found him stealing her money and gambling with it. She ended up selling her dress on eBay. Gave the ring back to his best friend, who it turns out paid for it. Then eventually married the best friend. They are still happily married 10+ years later, with a cute little boy. Edit, everyone keeps asking, no, they did not use the original ring. I believe they sold it. She wore that ring for a while, before they were supposed to get married. So there were a lot of bad feelings when he, first guy, figuratively, stabbed her in the back. No way would I, or probably any woman out there, would want to continue wearing it. One of the most absurd reasons I've heard of someone canceling their marriage was because the groom insisted on wearing a costume from his favorite superhero movie to the wedding. The bride had envisioned a traditional and elegant wedding, but the groom was adamant about walking down the aisle dressed as a fictional character. The disagreement over the costume led to such a heated argument that they eventually called off the wedding entirely. He told my good friend the day before the wedding that she had to give up her job and stay at home because he just wanted someone to take care of him and the kids when they arrived, and that he was only marrying her because of that. Some months before that he'd pressured her to give up her job after she got married, which she refused to do, and he'd told her then that he'd make her give it up, but she thought he was joking, which really shocked me. The relationship was toxic and I was surprised she was still going through with it. She finally promised him she'd give up her job, but her dad overheard the whole thing and intervened, and she saw sense and backed out of the wedding. She's married now to someone pretty wonderful. No idea what happened to him. My mom was engaged to be married to her high school sweetheart, let's call him Bob. Bob went to her doorstep 2 weeks before their wedding and told her he had joined the military and wasn't ready for marriage. He flew to Germany the next day. Fast forward 30 years and 2 divorces later, my mom was single with 5 children from 2 marriages. She runs into her old high school sweetheart, Bob. He is also single and recently divorced. They fall in love and have been together ever since. Spoiler alert, Bob is actually his name. They didn't have enough donations from friends and family. They set a date, and when they sent out the invitations, they included a line stating invitations returned without the required minimum would not get seated in the hall, another not allowed into the wedding. The bride and groom would make an appearance outside in the parking lot so they could have a chance to congratulate them, though. They received /Ben/SH00. Why? Their minimum was 00. 50 if you wanted food. 00 included cake service. For alcohol 0 got you 6 drink tickets, and I think the cheapest drink was 2 tickets, and some were 10. The dude was living a double life, had a whole another family in different state, said he traveled for work actually back and forth between family and fiancé. Guy had a city hall/courthouse wedding. Was issued a marriage certificate, said I do to all the questions asked. Yet in his mind, because he did not have a church wedding, he wasn't married. Less than a month later, they got an annulment. Ex-wife was obviously pissed. She wasn't religious, so didn't want to have a church wedding, and thought he knew what a courthouse wedding was about. Go figure. Happened at my church, to rather prominent members of the congregation. The wife gets cancer. The husband divorces wife because she cannot perform her wifely duties, not because she medically can't, but because she had to have a mastectomy. She eventually recovered. The husband later accidentally shot himself while cleaning a gun and became paralyzed below the waist. Groom was in a relationship with his best man, only people unaware were the bride and her family. I dunno if this qualifies as canceling. Indian bride went through all the ceremonies and got married. Then told the groom she had fallen out of love with him, but not to worry as they hadn't signed any paperwork yet, so weren't considered married by law. Left the day after the wedding, and a week or so later left the country with the groom's friend, whom she ended up marrying soon after. My wife's cousin, fiancé, cancelled the wedding because they couldn't agree on where to put used towels after showering. She would put a wet towel in the hamper after each shower. He couldn't get past the fact that, A, she was putting wet towels in the hamper, and, B, that she only used the towel once. Though he is crazy, I'm with him on this one. I was engaged, and we had started paying on the location, and then one time we had a party, and he got drunk and decided to be funny. He smacked me across my face and pushed me into a fridge, all while one of his friends watched him do this, and his friend got up and walked out of the room. So I left him. I didn't feel like it was an absurd reason, but my family did. Caused a huge fight for years afterward. I knew a couple who met, got engaged, and married within less than 2 years. 6 months later, they had an annulment. Why, you may ask? He's Jehovah and she's Catholic. He doesn't believe in celebrating Christmas or birthdays. She does. Apparently, they didn't understand each other very well when discussing kids, because they don't speak the same language. I wish I could make this up. My grandfather was stationed in Italy during the war and met a girl there. He even flew his parents out to Italy for the wedding. The night before the wedding, all the guests and were having a good time, and his fiancée stuck her chewing gum in his hair. The end. Guy I went to school with called off his engagement when his fiancée admitted she was pregnant with her dad's baby, and it was a very consensual situation. Late to the party, guy dates girl. Guy says he doesn't want kids, girl does, but they enjoy each other's company, so they keep dating for a while. Guy proposes, girl says yes. No talk of kids. The story they tell is, guy proposed thinking if she says yes she changed her mind. Girl thinks, he's proposing, he must have changed his mind. No one talks about kids until about a year in, no one has changed their minds. Amicable divorce. Edited for spelling. My friend realized that his girl never opens her mail and just lets it pile up. He said it's a triangular flag. Many years ago, I was living with a girlfriend and her 2 young kids. We decide to get married, and things are good. 2 weeks before the wedding, she says she can't marry me because she realized she couldn't change me. She hands me 0.00 and gives me a week to move out. I guess she decided she wanted someone else, and I wasn't it.